In My Hero Academia Season 3, the students move into Heights Academy on the campus of the UA High School. This row of dorms makes it so that all of the students can live on campus where they'll never be far from the instructors and their fellow students. This was necessary after the League of Villains continuously attacked several school functions and events, and it was also a measure that was taken to try to gain the public's faith back in UA. Nezu tells us in this episode that another motive of this is just to try to flesh out the UA traitor, and we may have actually seen a hint at who that person might be in this episode. But I'll get there when it's time, and I won't make you wait the entire video either. In this video, we're going to discuss the clues and meanings behind some of the students' rooms. There are a few things that stood out in some of the rooms that might affect the story later on, and there are a few other things that raise all sorts of questions for me, and also there are even a few things that I recognize as a manga reader, and having, I know they have importance later on, pretty much. So I'll be talking about those things in very minor detail so that I don't spoil you, but even though the details are very minor, you might not want to hear about it. So if not, go check out another great video that I have, and, enjoy your day, I guess. For those that are sticking around, let's get started. The first person we're going to talk about is Tokoyami Fumikage. Tokoyami's room is very dark since that's the sort of aesthetic that Tokoyami likes, but I bet it's also dark for him to get some training in of Dark Shadow also when he's off in his free time. He does have a bunch of gothic type stuff in his room, and he's already a pretty dark and mysterious guy, but I don't think that his character is in question at all. Tokoyami actually interns with a hero that can use objects as blades. This hero is really recent to the manga, so I don't want to give anything away, but he's a big deal in the hero community, and his quirk isn't really geared towards combat. He found a way to use his quirk to fight using blade-like items and, other things. So, would it be a stretch to assume that Tokoyami thought of this ingenuity and chose this person to mentor under? If he's learning from this person about different ways to use his quirk in order to make his combat style more effective, having some sort of weapon or blade would probably be brought up. Tokoyami has a really nice looking and authentic looking sword that the manga has Deku notice in the background briefly, but take note here that this could actually be important because Horikoshi likes to slip in things into the story like this in very small ways. I believe that he gets this from Oda, who of course is one of his favorite mangaka, and Oda does the same exact thing masterfully in One Piece to set up future plot points. The fact that the anime actually gives us a look at the sword itself, and we see that the sword is shiny and doesn't look perfect like a toy would, implies to me at least that this might actually be a weapon passed down to Tokoyami. Whatever the case may be, I'm definitely down to see Tokoyami taking villains down with a sword of darkness or something cool like that, so let's see where this goes. Next up is Minoru Mineta. What is in Mineta's room, and what could he possibly want to show any of the girls? Mineta is super perverted during the first night of the dorm experience and in general because, it's to be expected because Mineta is pretty perverted in general during normal class times, but whereas he used to be able to go home and seclude himself from his earthly desires, now he's living in a co-ed dorm with all of his female peers. Mineta invites all of the girls into his room, and he's one of the only people who isn't unwilling or uneager to do so. When he steps out to open the door to his room and pokes his head out, he does so because he knows that he's next. What was he doing in there though? I mean, was he preparing something? What's going on with Mineta, and why was there a dark aura coming out of his room when he opened his door that all of the girls immediately noticed? I know this part is played up for jokes, so I'm not really taking it too seriously, but we know that there is something that Mineta wants to show them, and he wants to show them really, really badly. So what could it be? I mean, is it a trap? Is it his... It feels like every answer to this question leads down a pretty X-rated path, but the question still remains. What is in Mineta's room? Write down in the comment section below what you think, because I think some of these responses are actually going to be pretty funny. What do you think is actually in Mineta's room? Please fill me in. Moving on to our next room, and the one that I'm sure you want to hear about the most due to the title of this video, Mezzo Shoji's room. That's right, folks. I think Shoji is the traitor, and you'll hear more about why later, but a lot of you have been asking me who I personally think it is, and there's your answer. Just think of it as a reward for, making it halfway through the video and supporting me. Let's go into the reasons as far as they relate to his bedroom though. Shoji's room is on this list because his room is completely empty and devoid of anything. Todoroki comments on his minimalist nature with a pretty blank face, and Shoji tells him that that's just how he is, but this stood out to me actually. I'm gonna stretch it here, but I feel like if any of the students were to pick up on the possibility that UA has a traitor, one of those students would be Todoroki. This scene could be totally worthless, but it could also be foreshadowing that Todoroki is also looking for the identity of the UA traitor, and he might suspect Shoji. Now, if you're thinking, Pineapple, I know you didn't just clickbait me with that title, this is all you've got, but no, actually. I didn't come up with the idea that Shoji is the traitor. I actually read about it online, and when I was watching this episode, it just kind of seemed weird to me that Shoji's room has nothing in it. To me, it implies that he wants to be able to move quickly and silently if he has to get out of there, with minimal risk of knocking anything over or making any noise. It could also be interpreted as Shoji not having anything to stick around for and not having anything that he treasures in UA. I actually do want to make an entire video about the Shoji traitor theory soon, because it's the first traitor theory that I actually believe could be 100% plausible, so just be a little patient and I'll have that ready for you guys pretty soon. This next one is another one with very minor spoilers for the manga later on. Jiro's room is pretty boyish, some would say. Her room is filled with instruments and all sort of records and stuff of that nature. She has band posters, large wall murals, and pretty much everything a girl would need to let you know that she's a rocker. This is one of the first looks that we get at Jiro's character privately, and it's actually pretty important. Jiro's parents were musicians, I believe, if I recall correctly, so she has a pretty big interest in music. This goes along with her quirk, and it's helpful for her to know how to play all sorts of instruments, but these things aren't being shown just for nothing. Jiro and her instruments actually come back later in the story to play a pretty cool role in the culture festival later in the school year. I won't spoil what actually goes down or anything for those of you who don't want to be spoiled, and there is another name for that arc which I guess would kind of be a spoiler, but it's pretty cool to see them here since they recently got a big focus in an awesome way. Finally, I want to cheat instead of picking a single room that has clues and interesting things about it, and I want to talk about the rooms that we didn't see. You see, we didn't actually end up seeing Bakugo or Suyu's rooms, but we're at least given good reasons why. I expect Bakugo's room to be very clean and proper, but I also sort of expect him to have like trinkets and stuff that would show him working on his gauntlets and his bombs himself to make sure that they don't hurt anybody else, or so that the responsibility can rest on his hands alone. I just feel like that's the sort of guy that he is, but also it'd be pretty awesome if his room was just decked out with like weapons and ammo and whatnot. Suyu's room would probably have some water source or a tank in there for her, and I think that'd be pretty awesome. Most people have rooms that match what makes them most comfortable in the series, and this is especially pointed out with Todoroki and Momo's rooms, but I think Suyu's room would just be another that would be radically different to the other rooms just because it needs to keep her comfortable. I wouldn't be surprised if her bed was a literal water bed with lily pads and everything on it, or if she had live fish or something in a tank. I mean, I don't know. I'm overthinking the frog thing because she's still a human girl, obviously, but come on, I mean, you're thinking the same thing. Normally, this is where the video would end, but I actually want to talk about the other room that we haven't seen. You see, there are 32 rooms total in the Class 1A dorms. There are only 20 students. This means that 12 of the rooms are actually empty and aren't being used. 11 of these rooms are on the female side of the building, but one of them is on the male side of the building. I don't see the students moving out of the dorms anytime soon, and I think the dorms are probably going to be their permanent living quarters for the next 3 years that they stay at UA. I also don't believe that Class 1A is going to remain exactly as it was at the start of the series, and I believe that we'll see students transferring into the class or starting as a second year there. I'm not sure that I believe that 11 girls are going to be moving in and joining Class 1A, but I could see a few like Ibara and Kendo. The big thing I want to talk about is that one single male room. Who is the male that would move into that room and would shake up the dynamic of the group of boys? Who is one of the most requested characters for a class transfer? That's right, the character that we met during the sports festival, Shinso. Shinso actually wants to be in the hero department, and I think that Horikoshi is going to make this come true at some point. He saved an extra room for Shinso on the boys' side, and I think with some work, Shinso could actually be a fun member of the class. He definitely catch Bakugo and Ito with his quirk tons of times. He's a little creepy, and the students all know him already, so it'd be pretty exciting. What do you guys think? Could Shinso be the one to move into the final boys' room, or will it be someone else from another school maybe, or even an entirely new student to UA in general? Let me know in the comment section what you think, and if you enjoyed this video, smash that like button to let me know. If you want to see even more of my content in the future, hit that subscribe button, and if you want to join my very evil League of Villains, hit the bell icon to get a little notification whenever I post. I'm probably going to get started on that full Shoji Traitor video, but I have like 6 videos to start this week, so excuse me if it does take me a little longer to get that one out. Shout out to Evil Snow Cookie on Reddit for the coming up with the theory in the first place. If you want to really just read it, just, go find it over there. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. This is Pineapple. Peace.